Hey there! So yesterday you saw me putting together some containers that are going to last all the way through till fall, and it was kind of a rainy day, so I wanted to come back out today and share with you what plants I put in them and kind of like what I'm thinking about. The fall garden is a great time to grow all kinds of beautiful things like kales and lettuces and all those cool weather crops, but you can also plant some of your summer crops and maybe even get an extra harvest like I'm going to be doing with tomatoes. So in these containers, I decided to add some flowers that will go until frost. They will bloom all the way until frost. And then I also put in a tomato plant. And just because I thought it would be fun to have a second round of tomatoes, we are here in July. So if I get this going now and you can see there's already flowers, I'll probably get some fruit maybe within a month or two, and that'll put me into a fall harvest of tomatoes. About that time, my other tomatoes are probably going to be starting to peter out. I have some determinate varieties of tomatoes, so they're really not going to be producing tomatoes just endlessly. And then this is also a very hot and humid climate. I'm in zone 7A. I'm in Virginia. It gets hot and humid in the summer, although today it's kind of cool. We actually had a huge rainstorm last night and it kind of cooled things off, so it's a perfect day for me to be out in the garden, but it's not usually typically amazing weather to keep tomatoes going on and on and on just forever. So I'm going to attempt to do this second round of tomatoes, and I did go ahead and get tomatoes from just a big box store just so I could get some started plants. I totally could have started some seeds like either even last month or in May to have like that second round of tomatoes, but I decided since I didn't do that I would just go grab some tomato starts, and I actually found a bunch of them. I was kind of surprised. There were a lot of tomato starts, not so much at my garden centers, but still at the big box stores. So if you're thinking about doing this too, maybe that's a place to look. Let me share with you the varieties. So the tomato that I selected is a Golden Boy. I kind of picked it because it's a yellow tomato and I thought that would just be pretty for fall, sort of on theme for fall. And it says that it has 8 to 10 ounce fruit with good flavor, good disease resistance. So that'll be key because we are growing in the hottest part of the summer. We're about to get to August and September, which for us, those are like the really, really hot months, very humid, but superb on sandwiches. And I do love tomato sandwiches. I've been buying the local farm tomatoes at the grocery store to make tomato sandwiches, but I'm so close to having my own. Our tomatoes are just now setting fruit. I got my first big red ripe tomatoes, so I want more tomato sandwiches in the fall, and hopefully this will be perfect for that. And then because I love to mix edibles and flowers together, I thought I would just pick some kind of more fall tone flowers to go in this container with the tomato. So I've got the tomato here, which I will end up staking once it gets just a little bit bigger. And then I selected some flowers that will also last all the way up until a frost. So these will bloom until it gets cold. Petunias actually have a relatively good cold hardiness. Like they will last until a hard frost. So, like that's like 28 degrees Fahrenheit, just below 0 Celsius. And this petunia, I thought it kind of had a little bit of a fall sort of look. It's not quite that like bright summer yellow. It has a little bit of brown and deeper tones. It is called the Super Cow Premium French Vanilla. Just sort of your regular mounded petunia. It is not going to get like super trailing, but I think that's good for this container because as you can see there's other containers around it, so a nice mounding petunia will be perfect. And I just think it's gorgeous. I love these sort of fall tone petunia. Another really great petunia for the fall garden is like I think it's the Supertunia Honey. Kind of has those fall tones, and you can find a bunch of different ones like this. There's another one which I saw and I looked for it, I couldn't find it. It's like white, but it has black veining through the flower. It would be the perfect Halloween petunia. If I can get my hands on one, I might do a Halloween container, and that would be perfect because it looks like a spider web in the petunia. Then I picked one of my favorite classics, the Truffalo Pink Gomphrena. And I actually have some of this over, well, I'll show you. I've got some of it over by the zinnias in this garden bed. Everything just got rained on last night, so it's like not looking its best. But this is a lovely plant. I love to put in all kinds of things, containers in the ground. I'm going to be growing more of it next year. It's just so pretty, and I think it looks really kind of fall. It's like that deeper pink tone, like it's not quite bubblegummy, you know, and it has little hints of yellow on it. So I think it fits, yeah, just with those fall colors. Still looks beautiful for summer, but will transition really well into fall. And the container next to it has this coreopsis. How perfect is that combination? I mean, I love that. That's stunning. And then the last thing I popped in this container was a Rudbeckia. This is, well, actually it's a daisy, I guess. It's called Gloriosa Daisy. It is Rudbeckia, but it's called a daisy. That's a little confusing. But it has these just like the rustic fall colors for sure. It's supposed to be a very long blooming Rudbeckia, so it blooms all the way through fall, summer to fall, which is kind of nice. And it's gonna be like basically an annual, but may survive the winter. We'll just kind of see. They say that it's a short-lived perennial, so if it makes it back for next year, I would absolutely love that, but I'm kind of treating it a little bit like an annual too, just by popping it in this container. Height is 18 to 24 inches, 45 to 60 centimeters. It can spread like 12 to 18 inches, although I doubt it'll spread that much in this container. And it's hardy zones 5 through 9, so it could definitely last through our winter here in zone 7, but we'll just kind of see. You know, especially this time of year when these perennials start blooming, the ones that are going to bloom and bloom and bloom all the way till frost, I think I'm like totally a fan of just adding them to containers like you would an annual. There's no reason why a perennial can't be part of a container. It can't function like an annual. You know, depending on how much of an investment you put into it, you may want to try to keep it for the next year, but honestly, that was the same price as like any of the annual plants. So hardly even matters whether or not you want to keep it as far as an investment standpoint, although I will definitely let that live its life, and if it wants to come back in the years to follow, I will be super happy. But this is just, I think, a really fun container that will just thrive and thrive and thrive and thrive and look beautiful in the fall garden and grow through fall and hopefully produce a ton of tomatoes. This is a pretty big pot that it's in, and so there should be room for everything to grow happily. I did one other container as well with another tomato. This container has a tomato, and then I seeded a couple things. So it has this big boy hybrid tomato, just a nice big, it doesn't even really say much about it, but like a nice big beefsteak tomato. I just kind of grabbed what they had at the garden center. But around it, I planted in some corn, so some red stalker corn, which has like a really pretty red stalk. And then I also put in some Genovese red Freddy basil. I've talked about this in a few other videos, but corn you can totally grow in containers. Do not expect that you are going to have huge, massive 8-foot corn stalks. Do not expect that you're going to be like going to the corn maze, right? Like they're not going to get that big, but they will still grow up, have a beautiful grassy corn texture. They'll still be really lovely. They just won't get to the size that they would if you were planting them like in the ground in a cornfield. So if you're gonna do it as I do and plant corn, I just want you to have that expectation. But I think it'll be really pretty around this tomato to have the corn coming up, and that'll really add fall vibes. The red stalker corn will be kind of decorative because it will have those red stalks, so that'll be nice. And then the red Freddy basil is a dark purple leafed basil, so that will also fit into the fall tones and sort of add that like fall kind of spooky purples and deep colors vibe to this container. So that was my thinking when I put that together. You know, the corn and the basil will really fill this in, but at that point the tomato will have grown up tall. I'll keep trimming it and staking it, so I think it'll all fit in there. Not entirely sure how that will turn out. I've never grown tomatoes and corn in the same container, so it's a little bit of an experiment, but I'm excited to watch it. The corn is so fun. If you saw my other video, I seeded a whole window box full of corn. I'll show you how it's doing. All the corn is starting to come up, which is cool. It's only been a few days. This is the fun thing about corn. I mean, I think this is, when did I plant that? I mean, it's maybe been 3 or 4 days, and look, all the corn coming up. So this is my little mini cornfield for the fall garden. And I have a few other things that I started in that video. I'll link some of those videos below for the fall garden. It's a really fun thing to think about. As you're getting into the middle of the season here, you're still working through your summer garden, harvesting, all of that. You know, keep mind out. Think about, you know, the fall garden. I like to do kind of some fall displays and decor, and that's where like the corn and these fall containers come in. And so that's why I wanted to plant them, just to continue to have more blooms and more interest in different things as the season goes on. Let me know if you're planting any containers for fall or have any ideas, things that you love to grow in the fall. I'm always interested to hear what other people are doing. But yeah, just wanted to share with you these couple little containers. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you in the next video. Bye-bye.